Okay, I'm live. Hey everyone, thank you for joining me today. I am your host, Lou Perica. And for those of you who don't know me, maybe joining me for the first time, thank you for coming here. And I am a success mindset mentor. What does that mean? So I help people get unstuck by shifting the way they think, releasing limiting beliefs so they can become the person that they want to be and live the life that they truly desire. So if you think about this, thought is the preamble to all results. So, in order to change results, we must go to the root cause, which is our thinking. So, again, thank you for joining me today, whether you're here on Facebook, on YouTube, or in LinkedIn. Welcome. And if you're catching the replay, thank you. So, one of the beautiful benefits of technology is we can connect with the world. We have access to information at our fingertips, right? But there's also a blessing and a curse with technology. And the curse is we've become more and more distracted through social media, and our concentration is getting weaker and weaker. And because all we do have to, in order to get information, all we have to do is click on something and we get an answer right away. And we are becoming more and more impatient through this process. So today's class is how your thoughts become things. And as I said in the description, our mind is like a garden. We are the gardeners. Our thoughts are the seeds that we plant. Our harvest is our results. So I want to show you, some of you may be familiar with my little stick person here. This is probably the greatest concept that I've ever learned. And I know my mentor, Bob Proctor, says the same thing. And anybody who studies thinking into results and knows this stick person would agree. This is the greatest idea, the greatest concept that we've ever learned, because what it does is it brings clarity. So I'm going to introduce you to the stick person here. So in order for us to begin, think about all the information that you know, all the stuff that we have in our heads, right? We know a lot of stuff, but very little about ourselves and who we are and how we operate. So this is where the stick person comes in. So I want to show you this stick person represents us. It represents me, it represents you, and it represents anybody that you've ever known, and it represents every human that's ever lived. So when we think about our mind, because we think in pictures, we don't have an image of our mind. And I'm just going to kind of go over this briefly. There was a doctor who was in the holistic health field, realized we must go to the root cause. We're only fixing the symptoms, but we must go to the root cause. The root cause is the mind, but we don't have an image of the mind. We tend to think of the brain. So this little figure brings clarity to our thinking. Trust me when I tell you this. This is gold. So I want you to think, see, no one's ever seen the mind. So because mind is activity, it's not a noun, it's not a thing, it's activity. And that activity is in every cell of our body. So this stick person is going to be an image of our mind. And I want you to take this big circle, okay? And the little circle underneath is the body. The emphasis is on the bigger circle because that's the mind. That's where our power is. But we tend to put our attention on the physical part of us. But this operates through this. So the mind expresses itself through the body. But yet we've never really learned about our mind. We've learned about everything else, but we haven't learned about us, and we haven't learned about our mind. We know a lot about our body. We all exercise, eat the right food, et cetera, et cetera. But we have not been taught how to think. We've been taught what to think, but not how to think. So I want you to take this big circle, and I want it to represent the mind. Okay. The top half here is the conscious mind. Okay. The conscious mind. The bottom half is the subconscious mind. And I'll explain what this little heart is about. This part is where we do our thinking. So today's class is about how our thoughts become things. This is where we do our thinking. This is where we control our thoughts in our conscious mind. You'll often see me do this when I do my classes, and this is what I'm referring to. This is where we can think thoughts, and this is where we can create ideas. This is the subconscious mind. This is what I, again, referred to in the description. This is the soil. This will give birth, so to speak, to our thoughts and our ideas. This is also referred to, so the top half is referred to as the thinking mind, again, where we can create ideas and thoughts. The bottom half, the subconscious mind, is the emotional mind. This is where we feel things, but it's the emotional mind. And the reason I emphasize it like that is because I want you to think of emotion as energy in motion. So this little part here, whatever's going on in the subconscious mind, the emotional mind, will be expressed through the body. Okay, I'm just going to put this down for now. And I'm going to just be doing this. So this is where we get to create thoughts, up here, our thinking mind. The problem is, this is where all our habits are. This is where all our programming is since we were babies. We are running, our whole life is running off of this part of our mind 96 to 98% of the time. We're habitual creatures. We're just doing things, not thinking, because this takes effort. This is 2 to 4% of our results. This is 96 to 98% of our results. I want to give you an example. Think about, I was driving somewhere, I forget where I was going, and I was going to my old hometown, and I was thinking about something. I had thoughts going on, but here I am using my thinking mind, and this part, the habit mind, the program mind, the condition mind, knew the way to the destination I was going. I didn't even have to think about it. It was all on autopilot. This, again, is running 96 to 98% of our lives. That blew my mind when I found that out. So this is the gardener. You are the gardener of the thoughts and ideas that you create. Now, depending on how you typically think, a lot of us think negatively. We are conditioned, we've been conditioned to think negatively. We are supported in our environment with negative thinking. So for us, it's almost instantaneous to think a negative thought, because again, our whole environment supports negative thinking. So this is the part that you get to, if you get a negative thought, and I use this guy as the guard keeper, reject it. See, this part of our mind can accept or reject an idea. When you get a negative thought, reject that idea, get out of here, and replace it with a positive thought. But it takes effort to do this. See, most of us don't want to do it. It's too much work, Lou. This is ease and efficiency. This makes life easier. This is where our habits are, be it good or bad. This takes effort, and most of us will not put in the time or energy to think the thoughts that we need to think to change the habits that we have been with, that we've had for decades. So when we get a thought, and we start thinking about a thought, and we get emotionally involved in a thought, and I'm going to use, and I use this on all my classes, a top producer, okay? It just seems to be the easiest example to use. You're getting into real estate. You thought, most of us got in because flexibility. I think that's the number one reason why most of us get into real estate. It was flexibility. And we see all these agents doing huge production, right? And we think, wow, I just need to do a little bit of that. I don't even have to do all that much, but we've got the idea up here. We start getting emotionally involved with that idea. We start really rolling it around and thinking, I think I could do that. I think I'm going to do that. We are now planting the seed in this rich, fertile soil. Again, this part of our mind, the conscious mind, can accept or reject ideas. It creates thoughts, ideas. This part must accept. It cannot reject. It must accept whatever you plant. Just like the ground. If I plant a carrot seed, it's going to grow a carrot. It's not going to grow zucchini. Okay. So this part of our mind, this rich, fertile soil, must accept the idea. So you start thinking, I'm going to become a realtor. I want to become not just a realtor, I want to become a top producer. Yeah, I think I do. And now you're getting emotionally involved. Emotion, the energy into motion. So, in order to um, really create that vision, you have to think about it. You have to think about the image of who you want to become. That is the seed that you're planting. When you plant this seed, this image of a top producer, you start thinking, what would a top producer do? How do they think? You are now getting emotionally involved with the idea. That emotion, that energy must express itself through the body. Emotion is energy in motion. So if I'm thinking like a top producer and I want to start behaving like a top producer, if I want to be a top producer, I can't hide in my house. I can't hide behind my desk and never take action. It's the action that is creating and bringing this idea into fruition. This is the creative process. I want you to think about, see this little acorn? I don't even know if you can see it. It's a little teeny tiny acorn, okay? This acorn I use all the time. You may have seen me use it, but repetition, repetition, repetition. That's how thoughts become. This is how ideas come into physical form. It's through repetition, thinking about it over and over, focusing on what it is that you want, watering that seed. So, like with the physical seed, you put it in soil, you water it, you nurture it, it needs sunlight. With our ideas, we focus. How we nurture the idea is by focusing on it, being persistent, taking action, and mostly faith. Because this little guy, and I'm going to talk about this, will eventually grow roots. You will not see your thoughts developing into physical things until it's actually happened. We don't know how long a thought takes to become a goal. Unlike a carrot that might take whatever, 70 days, or a rose bush might take, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks. We know that. But with a non physical seed, a spiritual seed, so to speak, We don't know the gestation period. But I want you to think about this acorn. If I were to cut open that acorn, you are not going to see within that acorn a mighty oak tree. You might see a little, I don't know, a seed perhaps, right? Within this acorn is a planned program. And what happens is when this little acorn makes its way into the soil, it will start to attract everything it needs for that acorn to start sprouting roots. Oh, hi. I see Facebook users. All I see is hellos. I don't know who it is, but thank you for being here. Anyways, so that acorn will start attracting to it everything it needs from the soil, all the nutrients it needs for it to start sprouting. As this acorn starts to sprout and starts to come up above the ground, it now will start attracting to it everything it needs from the atmosphere. And eventually, over time, this will start getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and turn into an oak tree. Now, you could plant a poisonous plant right next to that acorn, and that poisonous plant, let's say call it nightshade, will attract what it needs from the soil. Even though they're planted right next to each other, it will attract what it needs for it to grow, for it to sprout, for it to come above the ground, above the surface. Everything has in the universe what it needs. It will attract everything it needs to grow, and you and I are no different. It is the same energy that grows this acorn, that grows the corn, that grows the rose bush, as it grows your thoughts into a physical reality. It is the same creative process. What we have to do, the gardener, what do we want to plant? We have to think about the garden that we want to plant. Do we want to grow vegetables? Do we want to grow flowers? Do we want to grow plants? What do we want to grow in our garden, in the subconscious mind? When it's in the subconscious mind and we start taking, again, emotion, the emotional mind, the energy being put into motion, when you have, this is a good example, if you have a happy thought, right? You're thinking a happy thought, maybe, we got family coming to visit, maybe tomorrow, and you can't wait to see everybody, and you think about it, your body automatically feels good, right? It feels good. You can't have a happy thought and walk, and your body will not express a negative energy if you're having a happy thought. It just doesn't work that way. And vice versa. You can't have an angry thought and the body be, doesn't work that way. You will start to notice once you understand this, you need to master this, because it's you, it's me, it's you, it's everybody. When you understand you, you understand everybody, and this is the best way to understand people. So when they're being really pissy or angry, or they're confused, no matter what they're doing, you will start to be able to watch people's behavior and understand that they're either angry or confused. And that's why they're behaving the way they are. You will start to understand, you'll be able to separate people's behavior from their thinking. You'll understand it's just that they're thinking the wrong thoughts. That's why they are behaving a certain way. So let's go back to real estate just quickly. You want to be a top producer, you have to get emotionally involved in that image. This is the garden, right? The garden. Do I want flowers? Do I want plants? Do I want vegetables? This is the image of me as a top producer. Okay, what kind of clients do I want to work with? That's probably the number one, right? What kind of clients do I want to work with? Have a standard for people that you want to work with, because when you work with just anyone, they will suck the energy out of you. So have a standard. What type of client would I like to work with? Picture that client, picture the relationship. Picture you serving them. Picture them at the closing table, so grateful that you've helped them. Picture the office that you're going into. Picture the clothes that you're wearing. Picture yourself being gregarious and putting your hand out and shaking other people's hands. Picture yourself networking. All these images that you're placing in the subconscious mind will put you into action. If this is a biggie, and I'm not going to talk about it today, but I will touch upon it. If you have those thoughts, Lou, I can see it, but when I go to pick up the phone or when I go to network, I just get terrified. I have this fear that comes over me. And this is what's happening. And again, I've talked about it in other classes. In here, your programming is your self-image, your beliefs, your, what do they call that? The virus codes, the software that you're not good enough. You can't do it. Nobody wants to hear from me, blah, 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 blah. You want to do it, but your want to be a top producer must be stronger than your excuses. And that's another thing that, in my trainings, what I go through is how to overcome the terror barrier, as we call it. I like to think of it as the opportunity door instead of a terror barrier. So when we're planting our seeds, and when we plant our physical seeds, we can actually see with our physical eyes, physical evidence, right? We see the carrot starting to sprout. We are satisfied. It's something tangible. Yes, okay, awesome. That carrot's growing. And we don't worry about it. We don't fret. Where is it? Where is it? But with our thoughts, which is a spiritual seed, it is a non-physical seed. You can't show someone your thought. You can draw a picture of the image, but you can't touch a thought. So it's in its non-physical state. Unlike this acorn, which is in its beginning physical state, but with a thought or an idea, we cannot touch it. And this is where the social media, all the distractions around us pull us away from concentrating and focusing on where we want to go. This is where I'm at. This is where I want to go, right? The idea, the image of the top producer. But what happens? We're not seeing physical evidence. We may see some bits and pieces, but we don't see it. We can't touch it. And what starts happening, it's just like the seed. We start digging it up. Where is it? Where is it? We start worrying. We start doubting. I've done it. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. And now what we're doing is we are choking the seed, because now we are planting negative thoughts and we're supporting the negative thoughts with our negative inner conversation. Yeah, I've tried this. It's not working. What was I thinking? Who am I to do this? And you start to kill the seed. You've choked the seed, and now you've replaced it with now a negative seed. So I hope you'll start to a little bit. Does anyone have a question? See, these seeds, just so you know, this seed and your thought or idea seed, the same energy is growing it, the exact same energy. And the energy in the universal laws all work the same, whether it's your thoughts or a seed for an oak tree or a rose bush. It all works the same. This is the creative process. Look around wherever you're at right now. Look around you. Everything starts with the thought. The thought is the preamble to all results. And I mentioned the universal laws. They work exactly the same way. Again, for the rosebush seed and for your thoughts. It does not know the difference. It does not know the difference. I was reading something about it described the law of gravity, which we're all familiar with, right? But the way it described it, it says the law of gravity does not know the difference between a mountain or a marble. It will keep the mountain in place the same way as it will keep a marble in the same place until that marble is picked up by you and moved and placed somewhere else. That law is in effect right now. You can't see it, you can't touch it, you can see the results because everything is placed. Nothing, it's not all floating all over the place. Same with all these types of laws. The creative process is the universal law of the transmutation of perpetual energy, meaning there's an energy that's flowing to and through us. It's omnipresent. It's everywhere at all times. It takes the idea, puts it into the soil of your subconscious mind, puts the body into action so you can actually it's the making of the imagination. It's the making of the idea by taking physical action. And this is how you get results. This is the same process over and over and over. This is why when you understand this, when you understand how you operate, and these are our, just so you'll know, these little antennae on top of our conscious mind are the five senses, our five senses. These interpret things. They're supposed to show us how beautiful how life is, but however, we can use it again against us. We see the negative, we hear the negative, and therefore we are running our life off of the things from our five senses instead of going within, instead of creating the idea, creating the want, getting emotionally involved with the want and bringing that want into our physical reality. We keep looking at the results. I don't see it. I don't see my goal coming into fruition. I don't see anything happening. And therefore we start to give up. I'm done with that. I've tried it. It doesn't work. Let me try. Let me buy a new system and a new strategy. And we're always looking for the things on the outside when all the answers are within us. We have been pre-installed with every tool that we need to succeed in life. Just like this acorn, it has everything in it that it needs to succeed to be a mighty oak tree. The difference is this can only be an oak tree. You and I get to choose whoever we want to be. So take your power back, use it for the good that you desire. I hope you enjoyed this class today. I certainly enjoyed sharing this information with you. If you know of anybody that you believe that this would help, have them join our classes. So it's every Wednesday at 12 noon. I have been absent for a little bit because I was doing some traveling. Plus I was doing live events here in Georgia, which is my true passion, to be in front of people. Anyways, have them join us, and I will catch you next week. I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving. There is so much to be grateful for. Thank you, and I'm grateful for you being here with me today. Take care.